I'm Tony Shaffer. I'm the president of the London Center for Policy Research.
I'm Tom Taylor. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, Executive Vice President of Commercial Sales here at Sig Sauer.
The London Center for Policy Research is focused on individual rights. One of the most important rights to individual self-defense is the Second Amendment. That right provides the tapestry of protection for every American. The idea that every citizen has the right of self-defense. 2.5 million people are now first-time gun owners. That's who we're trying to talk to today.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important because we spend a lot of time in the firearms industry focused on the Second Amendment, and we don't think as often about the First Amendment and how those two things work together. But to us, it's incredibly important, and we've talked about this, is being able to defend our country, being able to defend our cities and sort of for law enforcement, and then the individual right to keep and bear arms to defend yourself. And
right.
So it's a big part of what we spend a lot of time on. Yes, we manufacture guns, and we're here at Sig Academy, where we do a tremendous amount of training for everything from special forces units all the way down to somebody who's brand new, never shot a gun before, so we cover all those things. But so what we spend a lot of time focused on is the other side of that, which is understanding the lawful purchase of firearms and use and training and those kinds of things.
And I think that's the key issue, is how does one individual go about trying to actually exercise their Second Amendment safely, accurately, and with a great deal of precision. The only way you can actually benefit from being protected is actually being able to use that technology in a way that protects you as the individual, those who you're trying to protect, and in a safe way that does not jeopardize the safety of others who are not actually part of the threat profile that you're having to deal with.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing today, millions of Americans are going out and buying a gun. They say, okay, I bought a gun. Now I can protect my family.
Right.
And those people haven't had training. They may or may not have thought about buying a gun up until recently. And there's a lot of issues with just going out and saying, I bought my gun. The question is, what do you do now?
Right.
And so we're huge advocates here at Sig Sauer, as is most of the gun industry, in saying, don't just go buy the gun, buy some ammunition, watch a TV and,
right.
or whatever, and think that's the real world.
Okay.
The real world is you need to get trained, and theoretically you want to get training. In a lot of cases before you buy your gun. It helps you with your selection, and there's a whole lot of things. Are you going to carry it? Are you just going to keep it in your home? So a lot of reasons why you should be educated when you walk into that gun store to buy a gun. But then most importantly, whether you're protecting yourself, your family, that is a huge component. So we can never just think of it as buying a gun. We need to look at it as buying that gun, but also getting the training that you need, not just to be safe. I mean, that's always the first thing we want to do, is be very safe. And thing number two then becomes training and being able to move throughout your house. If something goes outside your house, just being very careful to be safe and understanding the safety of just touching and functioning a gun, but also you get in a situation where you have to use that gun. What's behind you? Well, the basic tenets of gun safety.
Right.
When you're moving in a stressful situation.
So this is where the rubber meets the road. We as a policy think tank teach very dry concepts which have been enshrined within the Constitution, the idea of inalienable rights, those things which every citizen has that ability to exercise. So when you exercise your rights, Tom, I'm sure you agree, you should do so in such a way that's effective and safe. And I would argue that the technology that is best suited for the individual is today the firearm. Within the context of owning a firearm, the selection of the firearm is hugely important. The idea of a philosophy of use is very important. Are you going to use it for home defense? If so, are you going to have a weapons light? If you're going to conceal carry, are you going to configure yourself in the federal carry? Are you going to do appendix? There's a whole series of things that you must think through. But the important point that I think we both agree upon, our mutually agreed upon point, is that policy, that amendment, the Second Amendment, which allows every individual to be armed, to be active in their own personal defense, requires an understanding of that defense to be effective.
Right, and that's the critical point. Everything we said starts with the Second Amendment.
Right.
There was a deeper meaning that it's about your right to protect yourself.
Right.
And whether it's in your home, out, when you're about, or the military and the law enforcement. And then it becomes the point where we have to be responsible in the way that we do that.
As you mentioned, we are at a place where you train from weapons ownership 101 to tiered units, it's a full spectrum capability. One of the things which I think our military has benefited from, and I'm saying this as a clear policy issue, the military has seen clear and continuous benefit from a robust commercial model. That commercial model has resulted in technology that benefits every citizen. Every citizen now can go out and buy a weapon that can be tailored to their individual needs. That's unheard of, with a great deal of expense and challenge. Now, you've made it affordable.
Yeah.
You've made the ability of an individual citizen to pick up and tailor and effectively use that Second Amendment in a safe way more available to a greater number of people than ever before. And
when you walk into a gun store, it should be one of the first questions they ask you. Why do you want to buy a gun?
Right.
What's its purpose? And then they begin to fit you and talk to you about size. You know, is it a concealed carry gun? You talked about how you're going to carry it, what you're going to use it for. Is it a concealed carry gun? Is it a full-size gun, or is it somewhere in between? You know, all those questions need to be answered. But to your point, and we started studying this a while back, in the world's history, it seems like, you know, military research, you know, all the way through consumer use has been just part of the drill.
right, a lot of the time, situations are going to come up on you, and you have to be able to respond. And to do that, the training and experience with that weapon that you've been able to provide a actual tailored form to your hand, to your philosophy, is going to be that thing that saves your life. And I think that's what we all understand the ultimate objective is: safe ownership, safe use, and saving the lives of those who are around you and your loved ones.
Hi, Steve Gilchrist, Director of the Sig Sauer Academy, and what I'd like to start with is gun safety, and specifically the two non-arguables when it comes to handling a firearm. The two things I'd like to discuss are muzzle management and trigger finger discipline. With those two non-arguable safety protocols or way of handling the gun, there is no chance that you'll have an accident or unintentionally shoot something that you don't intend to or have the right to shoot. And simply put, muzzle management is keeping the muzzle pointed in a safe direction. A safe direction is really just not pointing the muzzle at any person, to include yourself. That's the simplest way that we can make it. Now again, I don't want to point this muzzle at someone I don't have intent or justified in shooting, but if we look at it from its simplest form, I just don't point at a person, to include myself. The second one is trigger finger discipline. With trigger finger discipline, we're not going to touch the trigger until we have an acceptable sight picture on that intended target, whether it's a paper target or in a self-defense situation. So again, muzzle management, don't point at a person I don't have intent or justified in shooting, and I'm not going to touch the trigger until I have that justification and an acceptable sight picture. So if I don't point the muzzle and don't touch the trigger, there is no chance that I'm going to have an accident with this firearm. So now, whenever you pick up a firearm, whether it's in this configuration with the slide to the rear or the slides forward, it does not matter. We're going to go ahead and assume a nice grip with that gun. And if you notice, my trigger finger of my dominant hand on the frame of the gun. That assures that I have good control of that muzzle, whether it's in the safe direction toward the sky here or toward the ground, but my finger is on the frame of the gun. Now that's very important because if I let it go lower, or if my hands are a little bit smaller, there's a chance my finger could go into the trigger guard and touch the trigger when I don't intend to. So again, we're going to pick the gun up, get a nice firm grip on it, and we're going to put that trigger finger right here on the frame of the gun, so that way there's no chance for us to make contact with the trigger until I intend to. Okay, here we are on the range, and we're going to go ahead and get started with first, how do we load and unload the pistol to ensure we understand exactly how to handle that pistol. And so first thing we're going to do is go ahead, draw the pistol from the holster, have that good grip. Again, we want that index finger nice and high on the frame of the gun, right up there, so that way we're not anywhere close to the trigger. Now, first thing we want to do is check the status of the gun. So let's go ahead, make sure if there's a magazine in it, we remove it. We lock the slide to the rear, and we're going to do a visual and physical inspection. We're going to check the chamber, the magwell, and the breech face. We're going to go ahead and glance away, and we're going to check that same spots again. Chamber, magwell, breech face. I can now declare this gun is unloaded and safe. Now, our loading procedure is very simple from this start point. We're going to go ahead, index the magazine from our magazine pouch. We're going to go ahead, insert it into the magwell, make sure it's seated. We let the slide go forward. We have now chambered a round. This gun is live and ready to shoot. Now, we have finished shooting, or we're not sure, maybe the situation's changed, or we want to unload the pistol. The training has ended. And again, know the status of the gun. We want to go ahead and unload before we can declare it safe. In order to do that, we're going to follow a very simple procedure. Step one, remove the source of ammunition, remove the magazine, place it in a pouch or pocket. We're going to go ahead and lock the slide to the rear. When we do that, we will see the round eject if there is one in the chamber, and we're going to go right through into our safety procedure of chamber, magwell, breech face, pointing and looking at each of those spots. And then we're going to look away and check a second time, just to ensure that we have, in fact, properly unloaded and cleared the pistol. Once we've done that, we can now declare this gun safe and unloaded. So again, that is safely unloading and checking the status of the pistol. Once we're done, we're going to go ahead and let the slide go forward. Go ahead, glance down at our holster, and safely reholster the pistol. Now that we understand how to safely load and unload the pistol, let's go ahead and take this opportunity to shoot the pistol. So first we're going to do is go ahead, draw the pistol from the holster. Let's go ahead and index a magazine from the magazine pouch, insert it into the magazine well, seat it. Let's go ahead and rack the slide to ensure we chamber a new round. Perfect. We're going to go ahead and assume a good two-hand grip. Now that our sights are on target, based upon our safe gun handling, we can go ahead and touch the trigger, and we're going to go ahead and fire 5 rounds. Perfect. At this point, the gun has fired all 5 shots, and on the last shot, the slide locked to the rear. In order to reload, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take our support hand and start to index a new magazine. While our shooting hand releases the magazine from the pistol, it's going to hit the ground. We're going to index a new magazine and go through the same procedure. Seat it into the magazine well, let the slide go forward. Once sights are on target, we can touch the trigger and go ahead and fire 5 more shots. Good. At this point, he has fired an additional shots. The gun is not locked to the rear, so we can, based upon that information, we know that we still have a loaded firearm, and that is okay. But we're going to go ahead and safely go back to the holster. To do that, we're going to glance down at our holster, and we're going to go ahead and watch the gun back into the holster safely, ensuring that the muzzle did not cover me or himself. Again, in order to shoot on the range, very simply, we loaded, sights on target, we fired X amount of rounds, and when we wanted to reload, the empty magazine went right to the ground. We didn't try to catch it. We indexed a new magazine and continued to shoot. Again, that's just simple gun handling on the range in order to practice with our firearm. We've safely loaded, unloaded, and shown how to shoot and reload. Next thing, sometimes what can happen is a malfunction with the pistol. Most commonly, it's bad ammunition. And it's a simple tap, rack is what we use as a terminology for the steps to clear that. And we're going to kind of demonstrate that right now for you. What you're going to do is you're going to load your pistol. We're going to shoot. There is a malfunction that will occur. And we're going to talk through with the safe procedure in clearing that so you can continue to train and shoot. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and draw your pistol. Let's go ahead and go through that load procedure. Insert a magazine. Rack the slide. We've now chambered a round. We're going to go ahead and fire and continue until a malfunction occurs. Okay, at this point a malfunction has occurred. First thing he's going to do, he's going to place his finger on the frame of the gun, so finger straight on the frame of the gun. He's going to go ahead, bring the gun into his workspace, tap on the magazine, ensuring that it's seated in the firearm. He's going to rack the slide. And what happened during that is the bad piece of ammunition was ejected from the pistol and a new piece of ammunition was inserted from the magazine. The gun is now ready to continue to shoot. Go ahead.
One of the challenges I'm sure you must face every day here at the Academy are first-time gun owners who have never once in their life touched a firearm. So how do you overcome, how do you build that initial, very important confidence into someone who's going to pick up a gun for the first time.
Absolutely. We have new shooters every single day, or new gun enthusiasts, or people trying to get into it, for whatever that reason is. We see them every single day. And so part of what we want to do is first create an environment that's open to learning. It's comfortable. We don't want loud noises or gunfire going on. We want a controlled environment because we know they've made a decision to be here,
Right.
but it's new. They have a lot of unknowns, a lot of questions, and so part of those fears or the apprehension or the anxiety that's happening is because of the unknowns, or they've been watching videos and seen things like, well, I saw this person get hurt from doing this or that, and it's a lot of myth. So in order to defeat all that, the real core of our principles are, it's objective. It's not our opinion necessarily, it's facts.
Right.
Muzzle management, trigger finger discipline. This is where the bullet comes from. This is how you make it fire. And if you start with that, it's non-arguable. It's just now a tool versus something that's potentially creating that anxiety.
So I think that's the key point, is the idea that so many people have either inaccurate understanding of firearms from Hollywood. Hollywood creates all sorts of misconceptions, and I'd like to believe sometime we'll talk into philosophy of use, because obviously one of the issues is when you do actually use a weapon, one shot is not necessarily going to have an effect you want it to.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of really dangerous misconceptions that people may come in with regarding how a gun functions, what a danger of the gun really is when it's not, and it's hugely important to be able to provide them clear and concise information on how they can, first off, use a firearm safely, and secondly, use it effectively within the circumstance that provides that is presented to them in a real world situation.
Absolutely, and to just kind of build off of what you're saying, those first introductions to the firearm, we take the purpose that they might be here out for a moment and just talk about that as an item. How does it work? What is the names of these things? How do I hold this? How do I pick it up? What if I just see one sitting somewhere? Let's just talk about it for what it is, and then once you get comfortable with that item, okay, now what is the purpose? Because it might be defense, as you're saying. It could be competition. It could be just they enjoy doing this because they did it as a child with their family members or something like that.
Right.
Whatever that reason is, but now they're taking on this endeavor on their own. So we take away the how we're going to use it necessarily as far as the mission, so to speak, or the purpose, and just to the actual what it is and how it functions. And then from there, we can build very quickly.
And that's where we cross over. Our belief as a policy think tank is that to effectively use your Second Amendment right, no matter how you choose to use it, you must do it in such a way that it's effective, that it's safe, and actually is done in such a way that the user overcomes any inherent fears and becomes an effective citizen in exercising their Second Amendment right.
Absolutely.
Steve, you and I are military guys. We've come up through a system which provided us no choice in the caliber of ammunition. Initially, it was .45 caliber for the Army with the 1911s. Then on to other manufacturers' weapons using the 9mm round. We've now stuck militarily with the 9mm round. But it's now plus P, which I think, and some would argue, is a more effective round, especially since it's a hollow point. But to first-time gun owners, what I'm saying here means absolutely nothing.
Right.
So how should you advise a first-time gun owner regarding their caliber choice by the fact that today, the popular calibers, which I would argue are effective regarding either personal protection or competition, are the 9mm round, or the 40 caliber, the 10 millimeters out there, but that's not very popular, the 45 ACP. Those are kind of the common available personal defense rounds, competition being mostly 9mm. So how does someone go about determining what the best pistol caliber is for them for their first time gun?
Yeah, and this is always, this argument's been going on for a very long time. And so I wish I could give you a very black and white and clean, fast answer. I'm going to try to break it down as quickly as I can. First off, what is the firearm that you are choosing? What is the purpose of that? And so if it's for hunting, for example, you said the 10 millimeter, that has a very specific purpose. If it's competition, then that type of ammunition, again, is very specific to the rules within that competition. So that helps narrow it down. Where it gets a little bit vague and confusing and very opinionated is in the self-defense kind of capacity.
Right.
And so what I would say is, you're choosing that firearm based upon how you are going to apply it in self-defense. If it's concealed carry, we tend to see the trend toward a smaller firearm. And because it's concealed, we're going to balance out between how much ammunition we can carry and the size of the gun. If it's home defense, I can go with a larger gun. Which caliber do I choose? I would say somewhere between the 940, 357 Sig, 45. Those are all calibers that in the self-defense realm perform the way that we want them through barriers. And I think the FBI is the best source of information as to the performance of that round.
Right.
Which one you choose, I would say, is up to you based upon the size of the gun and which one you're comfortable with. I would say the most popular, though, is 9mm because it gives me capacity and the performance in a defense capacity that we're looking for.
Right.
Now, it's always a give and take. If I want to use 45, I'm going to lose capacity. I'm going to need a larger gun. So it might be harder for me to conceal that, for example, depending on my frame. And I'm also going to lose, again, capacity. So it's really a balancing act. My advice to anyone that's going to go into this argument is reach out to the FBI. There's plenty of statistics online. Go with fact, not people's opinion necessarily. The performance that I want, and then choose the gun that best fits your hand, that you can shoot the most comfortable, that meets your mission. If it's concealed carry, it might be a small caliber. Once you have the gun that you want, that you can perform the best, then stick to one of those major defense calibers, and you will be successful, or as successful as you can be, for sure.
So to that point, the 320 platform is very much related to the military choices of the M17 and M18, right?
Right.
And those are 9mm calibers.
9mm.
So I'm stating this only as an observation, not a recommendation, that the military, for its choice of comportability, being able to move the weapon around easily.
Yes.
With a lot of ammunition, they've gone with a 9mm for capacity and what they feel is an effective round. Right. Others may disagree.
Right.
Because I came up with using a 45. Some people still like the 45. But then, as you point out, you drop off capacity. But no matter, the basic configuration regarding weapons today allows for the 9mm to be kind of the round a lot of people do choose, right? I mean, I'm not saying anything it's not factual.
No, it is. And so based upon FBI testing through and all the protocols, it's proven that it can be an effective round in defensive situation.
Right.
And so because of the 9mm, the size of it, we're able to gain capacity. We're getting the performance that we need. And again, from a military perspective, we're able to have a large capacity for sustainment operations. And then again, from a defensive standpoint, I can still have at least 10 rounds in a very small, compact gun. Right. So again, it's giving you kind of the best of both worlds there, capacity and performance in that 9mm. So again, it is very popular because you're gaining two of those main kind of optimal performance things that you want.
And the good news is, for anyone who actually uses a 320, is that you can actually shift between 9mm, 357 Sig, and 40 caliber fairly easily.
Well, not only that, not to miss out on this opportunity here, is not only can I change calibers, but I can go from a compact to a carry to a full size to a competition 5-inch size slide with that 320, all 9mm, or changing calibers. But I have now a variety to meet those missions that we just spoke about, whether it's competition, defense, hunting. I can take the one that fits me best for that situation, which is awesome.
And that's the point. Anybody who's going to actually use the weapon has to be comfortable with the weapon.
Yes.
That comfort factor is immaterial to the actual round. The idea here is that once you've picked the round, you can actually build the weapon around the round that you've chosen for your personal choice.
Absolutely.
Cool.